All right, we'll get started here. Or not. That's good too. Okay, if you could find your seat, we'll get started. All right, Josh, you want to put up the first slide? No, Lee. Lee, you're the slide guy. Put up the first slide there. So, we're going to take a few minutes this morning, and we're going to talk about the various ways that we can get involved and serve either one another right here, serve our city, or serve the world. So we're going to talk a lot about what we do and what you can do. But before we talk about the doing, I just want to give just a thought. Next slide. I share this with the students as often as I can. Who before do. Again, I'm going to talk for a little while about all the things that we can do, but the doing has to come out of the who we are. Right? So we got to ask ourselves, who are we? I don't mean as a church, I mean personally. Who has God called me to be? And then the doing comes out of that. Okay? Because it's really easy to mix it up. If I ask, especially if you ask dudes, hey man, it's nice to meet you. Who are you? The first thing they're going to say is, well, I'm a carpenter. I'm a pastor. This is what I do. No, that's not what I asked. Who are you? Who are we? That's a really important question, and it's important that we don't get them mixed up and confuse our doing with our identity. Now, our doing should be a reflection of who we are, but it's really important that you keep it in the right order. So who are we? Well, it's really simple. We're God's children in God's family. That's who we are. We're just kids. Some of us older. We had some 7-year-olds and some 64-year-olds. Different stages of life, but who we are is God's children. And the doing has to come out of the security knowing that God loves us like he loves his children. And it's not about earning anything. It's about being a blessing to others. Next slide. Volunteers? Question mark. I did a really quick word search. How many times does the word volunteer appear in the Bible? 8 times. Oh, haha, suckers. Did I say that? 2 times. 2 times is just talking about a type of plant, like a volunteer plant, a plant that gives its food and seed. That's 2. The other 6 times, volunteer is not an identity statement, it's an action statement. People volunteered for the army, and then they were soldiers. They weren't volunteers. People volunteered to help rebuild the wall, but then they were wall building, serving the community. They weren't volunteers. Volunteer was an action of going, hey, I'll do that. But that's not who they were. That just kind of gets things rolling. If you take the word servant, serve, serving, all those variations of the word, and you say, how many times does that appear in the Bible? I stopped counting. I stopped doing the math. My calculator broke. It was like, nope, easily over 1,000 times. It talks about serving one another, being a servant, the importance of serving. So we say here all the time, especially if you think yourself a leader, that you're a servant leader. We serve one another. That's who we are. And the more you serve, the more you bless others, like Marlo was saying in some of his messages. You want blessing in your life? You'll get blessing. How? By going out and blessing others through acts of service. 1 Peter 4:10 says this, each of you should use whatever gifts you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. What does that mean? It means God's given you a unique thing to do, a unique gift. But what you're actually a steward of, what you're taking care of, what you're serving out is God's grace. It's not just, hey, I'm coming, I can serve, I'm good with my hands, I'm going to fix a thing. Through the gift God's giving you, you're actually administering his grace to one another. That's what you're doing. Okay, I think that's enough of that. Who are we? We're God's children. And what do? We serve one another. That's what we do. How? Next slide. We're going to start with our church home and talk about the different ministries, opportunities in our church home. And that's the list. We'll just go to the next slide and go through each one of those. Something that we do a lot as a church, which all churches should do, is preach and teach the word. If you think as part of our family that God has gifted you with that, then you should come and talk to myself or Pastor Marlo, and we'll find opportunity for you to operate in that gift. Next slide. This part should go pretty quick. Worship. Worship is a big part of what we do. We are always looking for people to help us on the worship team. So if you have any inclination at all, contact Derek. There's his contact information. He said he will take any skill level. Once a month, on a Thursday once a month, they meet together, they practice, and we will work with you if you just have it in your heart. I tried to join the worship team once. I'm the only one that Sharon and Cheryl said wasn't allowed. They were like, no, you've got to harmonize like this. And I'm like, I'm doing that thing. And they're just like, you can sit down, honey. Okay. Apparently not gifted that way. But if you want to be involved in worship in any sort of fashion, contact Derek. Next one is prayer. We have the Zoom prayer meetings every single day. The times are up on the slide, or they should be. Nope, they're not. Oh, the next one. There's the Zoom one. 6:30, 7:30 in the morning. You can log into Zoom. It's in the e-bulletin. The link is in the e-bulletin to do that. Also on Sunday mornings, an hour before the service starts, so at 9:30, there's a group of people in the library praying. Prayer is vital to the Christian life and to what we do as a church. So if you want to be more involved in prayer, you can contact Sherry Breck. Sunday school. We very much need 3 more teachers and 2 more helpers. Pre-COVID, we had over 30 volunteers in our Sunday school ministry, and we are struggling to get enough Sunday school teachers and helpers to teach our kids about Jesus. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to grow and for us to show the love of Christ to kids. We have a curriculum set. We have you, if you're a teacher or a helper, you show up on Sunday mornings and you just come and teach. The curriculum's ready, snacks are ready, everything's ready for you. You just have to come and teach the kids. So if you want to get involved, please contact Joanne Hardy. Media and sound. The people that we love and often make us go, oh, that hurt my ears. But we love you guys back there. Yeah, that's a good idea. You should definitely clap for them. We need 2 more media guys or girls and 3 more sound people. Again, it's an excellent way just to show up and serve. It's not glorious, and the only credit you ever really get is when something goes wrong. But they're vital to what we do here on Sunday morning, and they could really use some more people. Ushers. We're bringing back ushers. Oh, did I get a yes? Somebody over here really likes ushers. Dennis, you have a fan. Yeah, we probably need 6 ushers. Dennis, yeah, we're talking about you. That's the uniform. Everybody look at Dennis. That is the uniform officially. Men, women, teenagers, it's a great way for you to participate. You just help with practical things on a Sunday morning. Coffee bar. Who doesn't love the coffee bar? I love the coffee bar. Again, it's something that we do to try to facilitate relationship. So if you'd like to be involved, please contact Mark. Again, we're always looking for people to serve in that kind of way. That kind of wraps up the things we do on Sunday morning. Some other things that the church does. One of probably our most active ministry that we have is Westside Academy. We have 26 employees, and we have 163 students show up here every day. And people say, you guys don't really have like a big youth group or anything like that. And I say, we have the largest, most consistent one in the city. Because unlike lots of independent schools just operate as independent schools, we don't. Westside Academy is simply another ministry of the church. That's how we serve our families and our kids, is by having the school. And we meet government requirements to get them their diplomas, but we also teach them the Bible, relationship, character development, and we have tremendous opportunity if you want to serve. Whether you have kids in the school or not, grandkids in the school, it doesn't matter. If you want to come and serve in the school, there's always classroom support that we need. Just come out and help out the teachers, supervision. There's always a million things to do. We could really use some more Class 2 bus drivers. If you have a Class 2 driver's license, you should come and see me, because we have lots of bus driving to do. But the number one thing that we actually need from the church for the school is your prayers. They're on the front line of every negative thing that you can think of in our culture comes and attacks us right here every day of the week. And it's a battle. So pray for the school, because they're doing a tremendous job educating kids, but also preparing them to take on the real struggles of life that the enemy is always out there trying to do. So pray for them, because they need your prayers. And if you see a teacher or an employee of the academy, give them a high five. Encourage them. Pray for them right on the spot. Oh, yeah. Very well done. Good job. Straight to doing the encouraging. Thank you. Another very important part of who we are and what we do is actually our building. And Randy, he is also wearing an usher uniform. I used to manage a facility at the college, and you would never get any sort of phone calls or anything from the users of the building unless something was wrong. So next time you see Randy, make sure you encourage him and tell him something that's broken, because it makes him really happy. We're going to do a work bee Saturday, October 22nd, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you have any sort of skill level, we have all sorts of things that we need to get done. If you want to come and participate, serve Randy and serve our body by helping out alleviate some of the pressure of broken things and things that just need some attention. There's his contact number. Shoot him a text message or see him after the service. He also takes care of all the custodial stuff. And we have Mike. I don't know if I saw Mike. Mike Callister. Oh, there's Mike. He's on the building team with Randy and Zach Giesbrecht. Are you here, buddy? Or is he still asleep, Dennett? He's probably asleep still. They were up pretty late. They keep this place clean. And again, we think that just magical little fairy elves just make things clean. No, it's hardworking people that serve us in that way, and we're really thankful. Randy also takes care of the room bookings. So the church building is very busy. We have lots of different groups that book and do all those kind of things. If you want to use the building for any sort of reason, just shoot them an email. Home groups. I tried to figure out this past week exactly how many home groups we have, and it's kind of dodgy because people go, I say, hey, you're a home group leader, aren't you? And they go, well, I don't know if I really lead the home group. Well, the rest of the people in your home group said you'd lead it, so I guess you're leading the home group. By my estimation, it is either 6 or 7 home groups, and they're actually really well-established home groups and been around for a long time. That means they're really full. But I think that to really grow spiritually, you need to have a close-knit community of people inside your local church. So if you're not part of a home group, you can send me an email, and I will try to start helping some of you connect into home groups. Most of it will be starting new ones. But it is where many of us have a lot of stories about I was part of a home group, and I raised my kids with them, and we shared life together, and we helped each other, and it's where real church happens, in those tight little communities, and then we all come together and worship together. So if you're not in one and you would like to be in one and you don't know how, just send me an email. Next slide would be women's ministry. Where's Quinlan? Did I see her? Hey, Quinlan, can you stand up? Or are you holding a baby? Yeah. Quinlan has recently volunteered to serve the women's ministry by being the coordinator. So right now we're at the stage of just brainstorming some ideas, that kind of thing. So if you want to be involved, if you have some thoughts about what that could look like, just shoot her a text message, and we're just going to start walking down that road of doing awesome things. And she'll probably need a lot of people to help and serve, so reach out to her. Men's ministry, Derek, he's our guy. He's been leading the men's retreat group for quite some time. If you want to be more involved in men's retreat, you just reach out to him. He's always looking for people that want to participate and contribute. Young adults, they meet every Friday at 7. If you feel like you're a young adult, shoot Tyler a text and say, hey, I think I'm a young adult, and I would like to be one, even if you're not. I guess there's not a slide. His number is, no, I won't read out his number. I think it was up there somewhere else. If you are a young adult and you would like to participate, and their definition of what a young adult is pretty loosey-goosey. But every Friday at 7 they meet. Hey, there's Tyler's number. Hi, Tyler's number. And one more thing that we want to highlight is in January and February, we're going to bring back the teaching sessions. Yay. Oh, yay. That was some good response. We might have made a good choice. We've decided to call it Enlighten instead of the 7-week teaching sessions in January. Trying to, be cool. Yeah, George wants to be cool, so we're being cool. So that's going to happen. We're looking at a Bible group, Case for Grace, I think it's called, Psalm 23. We'll do something for the youth, finance, and marriage. So for those of you who have not experienced that with us, when you come to church on these Sunday mornings, we break into different groups and kind of do like a Sunday school kind of thing. It's about 50 minutes or so, and then we gather together for worship at the end, and it's always been a very enriching or enlightening time. Okay, well, that kind of takes care of what we do right here. Oh, Tyler just texted me and said, yes, we have someone who is over 30, so it's a broad definition of young adult. Okay, looking past our walls and into the city. We go to that next slide. Here's some things that we are connected to throughout the city. Next slide. I don't even know how much I need to talk about Don and his downtown. Fast forward, he loves Jesus and wants to tell everybody downtown about him. If you want to be involved in the hampers, in handing out pancakes on Saturday mornings, any of those things, just contact Don. The Life Center is obviously downtown as well. we have been associated with Life Center for a very long time, and throughout COVID, it has been very quiet, and it's starting to get some new life going on in it. So if you want to be involved in the Life Center and what they're doing down there, you can contact Betty Ann. The healing rooms, I'm on their mailing list. I get their newsletter every single week, and crazy things happen down there. People get saved, people get healed, people get delivered. If you feel God calling you to some of those kind of gifts and that kind of supernatural thing happening, it's happening in our city. In our city. And if you want to be involved, you can contact John Farber. There is a training. You can't just like run in there and two guns blazing. There's some training and some equipping that they put you through, and you become part of their team. And it's great for personal development, and it's impacting, over the years, hundreds of people in our city, hearing the gospel, getting saved, getting healed, and finding freedom. It's really awesome. Emmaus House. Most of us are well versed on Emmaus House. Emmaus House is great. It's our seniors facility that we're associated with, that Pastor Arlo started 19 years ago, I think. No, 20-something? 22 years ago. So it's been there for some time, and we have touched hundreds of families through that ministry. If you are looking to practically serve in any kind of way or feel called to spending time with seniors, that's a fantastic place to do it. Speaking of seniors, Dirk, the Big Shadow, he spends lots of time every week going down to, he goes to Emmaus House once a week, Riverbend, the Chateau, and Simon Fraser. He usually takes his guitar, and he sings, and he preaches the gospel. If you feel that God has gifted you to work with seniors in our city in any sort of way, contact Dirk, and he'll get you plugged in. Opportunity to pray for people, share, lead music, and just relate to seniors, because so many of them actually don't have family that don't come and visit them. And he just goes and relates to them, and they need to know that they're part of God's family. They're a vital part of God's family. They're a vital part of community and family. So if you feel that is in your heart, then I would encourage you to talk to Dirk. Another thing we're associated with is Baldy Hughes. Dawn goes out there every week? Second Saturday, every second Saturday. Dawn's hard. I can't keep track of that guy. He's doing everything. He goes out there and preaches and prays with the guys and just goes out there to love them. So if you feel that maybe that's something for you, contact Dawn. It's a ton of opportunity there. All right, the last section. We've done us. We've done our city. Now it's the world. In Sri Lanka, obviously, we have the Bud Center. We've done lots of projects in the Bud Center, and we are sending a group, hopefully, during spring break, on a missions trip to go work in the Bud Center. For many years, we have sent the grade 12 students. This year, Cheryl has decided that she just wanted more work to do in her life, so we are opening it up to more people. If you want to go to Sri Lanka, contact Cheryl. I think she's just trying to avoid me, because she's like, I'm going to go for like 6 weeks, and I'm going to take everybody, and she's hard to reach there. So if you want to go to Sri Lanka and see what we have done and what God has done there, it is a tremendous time. I've been 3 times. It will change your life. And there's so many things that we can do to serve there. So contact Cheryl if you want to go, no matter what age you are. And then there's Pastor Roshan. We've worked with Pastor Roshan for a long time, and he had heart surgery. Was that now 6 months ago? And he's doing well. All the projects that we've been doing with him have come to a conclusion. But Pastor Marlo's going there sometime in the near future, and he'll probably come back with more things for us to do. And then Kenya. In Touch Ministries with Pastor Paul. We've been in relationship with him for many, many years, and he does incredible work over there. He communicates with us quite a bit, and he said the biggest need right now is rain. 2 years, especially in the Samburu area, 2 years they've had only 10 millimeters of rain. And it is severe problems there. We recently sent them some relief money from our needy fund, and he sent me a whole bunch of pictures. I think we have one of the pictures we can put up there. All these people came from all over the area for some food, and they take the time to share the gospel, and 23 of those people got saved because they're so open to God. And Pastor Paul goes and he shares the love of Christ in a spiritual way and in a very practical way. So continue to pray for him. And then we also have the Pokot kids. The Samburu region's here, Pokot's over here, and we've decided that we need to keep raising money for the Pokot kids. It takes between $8,000 and $10,000 a year to feed them. There's 28 orphans, and a couple years ago we did a VBS, and we used that to raise funds for them. And in 1 week, our kids raised $8,000 and fed them for an entire year. So we've set a goal of 10,000. The academy has jumped right in, and they're doing all sorts of fundraisers. And I would just ask you to take some time and pray about it. These are kids in extreme poverty that God has put right in front of us. What can we do to practically show them the love of Christ? So if you want to give to that, you can give online through e-transfers. Just tag it, designate it for the Pokot, and we'll make sure that it all gets to those kids in good time. We have them all funded until the end of November, so we'd like to see if we can't raise some funds and get it over to them before then. Yeah, is it there? Picture? Got a picture of those kids? Nope, didn't work. Okay. There's one last thing. Because, we're just us, right? We like to have fun, yeah? So there's a new home group starting, and it is probably the most exciting home group I've ever seen. So we're going to watch a video of this home group. So it seems that all of you are very excited, so I've got a proposition. $20, I'll let you in, we'll send it to the Pokot kids, eh? Hey! But for real, oh no, wives that don't want their husbands involved, that's $150. Yeah. Cheryl came to me and was like, yeah, we went to Hit the Pass. It was amazing. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun. Oh, maybe we should do a thing. I bet we'd get good turnout to that thing. So this is legit. You got to contact Kevin Anderson or Brandon Giesbrecht. He's right here. He's a very handsome man with the beard. And Kevin, the gray fox back there. Look, and to be honest, I'm really excited about this because Pastor Arlo was sitting up here a couple of weeks ago, and he simply said one thing, and I think that we need to pay very close attention to what he had said. And he said, we are about relationship. That's who we are. We're all God's children, and this place is about relationship. So sometimes we build relationships through doing very spiritual things, and sometimes we just hang out and have a great time, and that's awesome too. And I think God looks at us and goes, fun kids. Fun kids. So if you want to get involved, crash a car, do some welding, contact Kevin and Brandon because it's going to be awesome. That's it. Pastor Marlo. I'm in the parking lot after.
All right, is that on? You can hear me? Kind of. It'll get better. It's kind of hard to follow that last clip, but I'll do my best. So when I came back from the summer, spent traveling across Western Canada all the way to Thunder Bay, and did my summer fishing, my summer thinking and meditating. I came back to share 3 words with you, and this now is my last Sunday before we get into something else, and so I want to finish that off, but let me review a little bit for some of you that might not have been here to hear those 3 words. The first one was makarios, which is a Greek word used in the Beatitudes particularly, that talks about blessed. And the ancient Greek word makarios really means a state of happiness and contentment beyond all cares, labors, and even death. So no matter what the circumstances are, we can live in a state of blessedness. When we seek to bless God and others, that's when we get to experience the blessing or the blessedness of God. The second thing I shared was about the need for community and the necessity to have a healthy community. I talked about that we must gather together, must be together, and there must be a real presence of love and unity. Again, love as spoken of in 1 Corinthians 13, love that does not seek its own, but rather seeks for others. And there's a real strength that comes from love and unity. And it leads me into my third point. And so, there's always the short version and the long version to my message. And so you just never know which version you get. It just depends what happens at that particular moment. But what I see in our world, particularly over the last couple of years, is there is a real focus on victims and being victimized. And there's talk about it all the time. And now we live in a world where there's evil and danger all around us. And so I began to meditate on this and think about this throughout the summer and over these last couple of years, and I began to think of it from a God perspective, not from a world perspective. Depending on how what your flavor is, you can find material that will support any position that you might feel you have, and you think you're the carrier of truth, and you might be or you might not be. But I've chose in this time. I'm a little bit of a political junkie. I used to like following that, but it just got too out of hand for my liking, so I kind of just turned that off a little bit, and I began to go rather into God's perspective on what's happening in our world. And as I study and look at the Scripture and look at my experience and the experience of others, even though we live in a world of danger, we are never called to live as victims. Rather, Jesus in John 16:33 said this. I said, I've told you all this, all the things that were coming, the things that will potentially create fear, uncertainty in the lives of his followers, the disciples. He said, I've told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth, you will have, not might have, could have, you will have many trials and sorrows. But take heart, because I have overcome the world. Well, so it's not about hockey, sorry. I've given up on hockey. And every so often, hope gets renewed a little bit, and then we lose to the Montreal Canadiens 4-3 at the opening game of the season, and I'm done again. So I'm not into hockey. This is not about hockey. This just happens to be a stick. Well, in 2002, when I was installed as senior pastor for the second time, I don't think they installed me the first time. I just did the job. It was back in the day before we did that. So what happened is we had a service in this room, and they prayed for me. And during the time of prayer, a man by the name of Dwayne Harder, which some of you will know and some of you won't know, he was here. And we used to do worship up front, and we had all kinds of things. We had things we threw, and you had to kind of, had to come to church with a helmet, I think. And we had flags and everything else. And they had these sticks. Remember the bamboo type sticks that we had? Great weapons, I'm sure, for something. But anyway, kids used them for something, and I can't remember what they used them for. So Dwayne picked up one of the sticks. And as he was praying for me in a prophetic way, and praying over my ministry, he from time to time he would say something. He would do that, and every time he did that, something happened in my spirit with the words and that pounding every time, and it created in me this fighting warrior spirit. I probably didn't have to do a lot of that. I grew up, and my sports of choice were football and hockey. Football more than hockey. Hockey, I was a goalie only because I came to hockey late in life and couldn't skate as fast as the rest of the guys. So we lived between my ages of 10 and 15. We lived in Omaha, Nebraska, and they had one rink for 500,000 people. So needless to say, we didn't get on the ice hardly at all. So, and football is, if you've played football, it is a violent sport, and more violent when I played. I mean, we used to do drills. Now today, you'd get sued or thrown in jail for doing that. We used to do drills where you'd lay on the ground, and the coach would blow the whistle, and you'd get up and you'd run into each other's heads with helmets on, fast as you could. And Brian's laughing because he knows a little bit about some of the drills we did before we realized what that was doing to the brain. So please have mercy on me. I can't tell you how many times Harry, the big guy on our team, hit me, and he stayed, and I went that way. And I remember one time I was. See, you're getting the longer version right now, but I remember one time we were playing this team, Catholics. I was in the public school, and we played the Catholics from time to time. And they had a kid on their team who was big, and he was athletic, and he was a punter, and he did a few other things too. And he ended up playing in the CFL. So he punted one time, and I was the guy getting the ball. And I'm waiting for the ball to come down. And I'm looking, and I see him coming. He's the only guy who hit you. The punter can actually hit you. The rest of the guys have to give you this halo of 5 yards. And I'm looking up, and I'm seeing him coming, and I'm looking. And then the next thing I remember, I'm on the ground, and the trainer's got the smelling salts, and he's going. When I came to, I said to him, "Did I fumble?" And he said, "No, the football's implanted in your chest." Good. Anyway. So something happened in me during that time. And so, it's interesting. You might have called me, I don't know whenever it happened, to the job of being a pastor, but he called me to something far greater and deeper than that. And if this was just a job, I would have quit it a long time ago. Because there were many times where it was very difficult. But here's what he said to me. He said, I'll be your guide, and I'll be your strength, but you have to be an overcomer. In other words, you can't allow the circumstances and the things that you're facing to dictate to you as to what you do. You have to be willing to allow me in you help you to overcome. So you can't see yourself as a victim. You can't be filled with self-pity. You're an overcomer. Never to be called to be dictated to by your circumstances, but to follow the direction of the Holy Spirit in your life circumstances. That was the calling. One of the great stories in the Old Testament of giving into circumstances is found in 1 Kings chapter 19, and you can read it when you go home. I'm going to just share a couple verses with you. So 1 Kings chapter 19. And, you know, the story comes off the backdrop of Elijah. It's regarding the life of Elijah. And he just comes from this tremendous victory on Mount Carmel, where he stands against the nation of Israel and the prophets of Baal. And in spite of what he was facing in the circumstances, his trust was in the Lord, and it was an incredible victory for him. And in the first few verses of chapter 19, it says this: when Ahab got home, he told Jezebel what Elijah had done. It talked about Elijah and the things that had happened. And what happened in this story is, in verse 3, Jezebel hears the story, and Jezebel says, I'm going to kill him. And it says, when Elijah heard that, he was afraid and fled for his life. If you go down further in verse 9 and 10 of the same passage, God speaks to Elijah, and he says, what are you doing here, Elijah? Elijah, what are you doing? And Elijah said, I have zealously served the Lord. He's talking to the Lord. I have zealously served the Lord. But the people of Israel have broken their covenant with you, torn down your altars, the circumstances. They've killed every one of your prophets, the circumstances he has faced. And I am the only one left, and now they're trying to kill me. He was depressed. Then in verse 14, after he has this experience, and you can read about it with the earthquake and the fire and the small gentle whisper, the Lord said to him again, what are you doing here? What's happening? And this is what he said in verse 14. I have zealously served the Lord Almighty, but the people of Israel have broken their covenant with you, torn down your altars, killed every one of your prophets. I am the only one left, and now they're trying to kill me. I'm still depressed. After an encounter with you, I'm still depressed. So, you know, it's interesting what God tells him. He says, I want you to go back. Walk back through what you experienced. Go back. And on the way back, you're going to experience some things. And one of the things you're going to realize is 7,000 other people have stayed true to me. You're not alone. That's your self-pity talking. He didn't call us to be filled with self-pity. He called us to be filled with courage. 1 John chapter 5, verses 1 to 5. This could be, for me, because you know how I can stay one place in a long time, this could be a 10-week series of messages, because the scripture is filled with this, but it's going to be one short message, just about a few minutes more. In 1 John 5, 1 to 5, it says this: everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has become a child of God. We talked about that today. And everyone who loves the Father loves his children too. We know we love God's children if we love God and obey his commandments. Loving God means keeping his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. For every child of God defeats or overcomes this evil world. And we achieve this victory we overcome through our faith. And who can win this battle against the world? Only those that believe that Jesus is the Son of God. And if you take a look at the end in Revelation, John, the beloved, says this in Revelation 21, verses 1 to 8. He said, I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the old heaven and the old earth has disappeared. It failed. And the sea was also gone, and I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven like a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, look, God's home is now among his people. He will live with them, and they will be his people. God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. And there will be no more death. There will be no more sorrow or crying or pain. And we live in a world that's filled with pain. And we have all experienced pain. We all know what pain is. All these things are gone forever. And the one sitting on the throne said, look, I'm making everything new. Then he said to me, write this down, for I tell you it is trustworthy and true. And he said, it is finished. I am Alpha. I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the end. To all who are thirsty, I will give freely from the springs of the water of life. All who are victorious or overcomers will inherit all these blessings. And I will be their God, and they will be my children. In contrast to this next verse, which we don't like to read verses like this. But coward unbelievers, the corrupt murderers, the immoral, those who practice witchcraft, idol worshippers, and all liars, their fate is in the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death. See, people of faith are not victims. When trouble comes, they overcome. Modeled by Christ, we overcome. It's not like it's an option. And that brings me to the worship team coming back. And we're here today to celebrate communion. And the cross is pivotal to our being able to live as overcomers. The cross is pivotal for us to be able to live in the state of blessedness. Pivotal for us to have community, to have love and unity. Because love and unity and that oneness that comes from the heart of God. And as we focus on him, that's how we overcome. If I focused on what was around me, I would be defeated. But I lift my eyes up from what's around me to him, and I begin to see something greater. Something then begins to rise inside of me, and I begin to say, you know what? I can handle this. I can walk through this. And you know, we need each other. And so I'm asking elders and their wives to come and stand here. And as we come, like we have many times in the past, Randy's going to dismiss you, and you're going to come to the front and gather your emblems. We ask you to hold them. We're going to worship. But if you need prayer, if you need somebody to encourage you, the elders are here to pray for you. And their wives, and they're here to minister to you. And so don't leave. If you need that encouragement, don't leave without being prayed for. And let's begin to worship. Randy, go ahead and start dismissing them.
seated above, enthroned in the Father's love, destined to die, poured out for all mankind. God's only Son, perfect and spotless one. He never sinned, but suffered as if he did, seated above. Seated above, enthroned in the Father's love, destined to die, poured out for all mankind. God's only Son, perfect and spotless one. He never sinned, suffered as if he did. All authority, every victory is yours. All authority, every victory is yours. Savior, worthy of honor and glory, worthy of all our praise. You overcame. Awesome in power forever, awesome and great is your name. You overcame. Power in hand, speaking the Father's plan, sending us out, light in this broken land. Power in hand, power in hand, speaking the Father's plan, sending us out, light in this broken land. All authority, all authority, every victory is yours. All authority, every victory is yours. Savior, worthy of honor and glory, worthy of all our praise. You overcame. Jesus, awesome in power forever, awesome and great is your name. You overcame, Savior. You are Savior, worthy of glory and honor, worthy of all our praise. You overcame. Jesus, awesome in power forever, awesome and great is your name. You overcame. We will overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Everyone over overcome. We will overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Everyone overcome. Savior, Savior, worthy of honor and glory, worthy of all our praise. You overcame. Jesus, awesome in power forever, awesome and great is your name. You overcame.
One of the interesting stories, another story in the Old Testament that really talks about leadership, is the story of Jacob and Esau. And fear is a very powerful thing in lives. And Jacob, through deception, stole something that was rightfully Esau's, and he knew it. But he did it because he wanted it bad. So he took it. And after he took it, Esau was mightier, stronger than Jacob was, and he was afraid. So he ran. Years passed, and he was going to face his brother again. And when he did, he was afraid. He was afraid his brother was going to kill him. Probably justified in his fear. And they were twins, so they knew each other well. And yet they were completely different. And instead of Jacob facing that as a man, he was a coward. And he sent the women and the children first, and he stayed at the back. See, in the world that we're living with, we need leaders who are going to stay in the front. We need fathers who are going to stay in the front and take the shot, if necessary, for their families. It's not easy. Jesus stayed in the front line. If you understand the significance of the cross, not just the obeying or whatever else, but forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, he took humanity on. He can never shed humanity. He didn't just take it for 33 years. He took it forever. Because when he comes back to earth, he comes back after he is glorified, he comes back in a physical body. So he took it on forever and ever and ever. That's how incredible his love to the Father was. And for the first time in forever and ever and ever, for a brief period of time, God rejected him. Because when God saw him, he saw our sins on him. He rejected him. Jesus had never been rejected by the Father. But his love for the Father, he took that rejection so that we could have that relationship to God. See how valuable that relationship is? You see how when he told us you're going to face trouble and trials, he wasn't just talking about some theory. He was talking about what he was going to go through. And he modeled for us that we can actually overcome. So he modeled for us. If he could overcome what he overcome and overcame, we can overcome what is before us. He modeled that so that we would take heart, that we'd be encouraged, that we wouldn't let the fear overpower us. And, that's why, look at. There were times in the last few years that I've been extremely angry. Extremely angry. And my anger is that our world, and even some of our political leaders, were using fear to motivate people. And I hate fear, because fear is the enemy of faith. There were people that even left Westside because I spoke out against that. I'm not apologizing. Fear doesn't bring us to good places. Faith does. Love does, not fear. His love for us conquered sin. Not his anger, not manipulation, his love. Knowing what he was going to go through, he shared with his disciples at the end, and he said, this bread that you're holding is a symbol of my body that's going to be broken. Broken out of my love for the Father, and broken because the Father desires a relationship with you. And the only way he can have that relationship with you is to temporarily sacrifice the relationship with me. And so he has asked me to lay my life down so that you can have a relationship with him. You see how valuable our relationship to God is? He said every time, and why bread? Because that was a staple. They ate bread every day. Every day, I want you to remember what's happened so that you can be an overcomer, so you don't live under the fear of whatever's happening around you, under the circumstances of your life, but you live by faith in what I've done. So he broke it, and he shared with them. He said, every time you eat this, remember what I've done for you. Let's remember. Let's eat together. In the same way he took the cup. Again, something that was a part of their everyday. And he said, this is a symbol of my blood. My blood is going to pour out of me. My life is going to pour out of me. My eternal relationship to my Father is going to change. In Colossians it says that our sins of the entire world, from beginning till the end, every single sin was nailed to the cross, and then his body covered that, and his blood was poured out, covering your sin and my sin. Powerful. It's powerful. His love covered our sin. So your love can get past the circumstances and any offenses anybody has done towards you. And you can be an overcomer, not a victim. And he modeled that for us. He said, every time you drink this, I want you to remember. I want you to remember what I did. I don't ever want you to forget. It tells us how important and how valuable we are, but it also shows us what we can do when we bring that love that he had for us into our lives, when we become like Christ. And he was completely human like you and I. He experienced the same emotions, feelings, and things that we experience. He experienced them, and he overcame. And we are called to live as overcomers. Let's share together and remember what he did for us individually. Don't leave today as a victim. Leave today as someone who says, you know what? Whatever I'm facing, I'm going to allow God in me to overcome the circumstances, to live victorious. We're overcomers. Let's stand together and let's worship as we close this morning.
Final word.